The rusty chain biker bar was thick with cigarette smoke and pool balls clicking when 7-year-old Emma Martinez burst through the heavy wooden doors. Her dress was torn, tears streaming down her dirt-stained cheeks as she screamed, "They're hurting my mama! Please help!" The room went dead silent. 20 leather-clad bikers turned to stare at the trembling child. Their leader, Marcus "Tank" Rodriguez, was a mountain of a man with tattooed arms and scars from countless fights. Everyone expected them to turn away. But Tank slowly stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow across the little girl. He reached for his keys, his voice cutting through the silence like thunder. 6 months earlier, Maria Martinez had packed everything into 2 suitcases and fled Phoenix with Emma. Jake Sullivan wasn't Emma's real father, just a man who'd married Maria when Emma was 3 and gradually revealed himself to be a monster. The bruises started small, then came isolation, making her dependent on his approval. The final straw came when Jake raised his hand to Emma. That night, while he passed out drunk, Maria gathered their belongings and ran. Millbrook seemed like the perfect hiding place. Maria found work at the diner and cleaning offices at night. Emma adapted well, made friends at school, laughed again, stopped flinching when doors slammed. For 6 precious months, they built something resembling a normal life. The knock came at 8:30 on a Tuesday evening. Through the peephole, Maria saw Jake, swaying slightly, a beer bottle dangling from his fingers. He looked thinner, meaner. "I know you're in there, Maria. Open up." Maria grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her toward the back door. But Jake was already circling the house. He kicked in the back door with a crash. He'd been drinking for hours. "Thought you could run from me?" He grabbed Maria's wrist, twisting until she cried out. "She's not your kid," Maria said. "And I'm not your property." The beer bottle shattered against the wall. "Get in the bedroom, Emma," Maria said quietly. "No," Jake's voice boomed. "She stays right here." Jake advanced on Maria. "You're coming home with me. Both of you. Tonight." "Never." His hand cracked across her face. Maria grabbed the cast iron skillet and swung at Jake's head. He ducked and backhanded her so hard she fell to the floor. "Run, Emma!" "Now." This time the little girl listened. She burst out the front door and ran down Maple Avenue, her bare feet slapping against cold pavement. The rusty chain was the first place she saw with lights and people inside. Tank Rodriguez had heard that scream before, from his own throat 35 years ago, when his stepfather's belt came down for the 10th time. The memory hit him like a sledgehammer. He touched the dog tags beneath his leather vest. Semper Fi. Protect those who couldn't protect themselves. "Where's your mama, little girl?" Tank's voice was gentler than anyone expected. "Our house on Maple Avenue. He's hitting her and breaking things." "Yeah, sweetheart. We're going to help her." 20 men pushed back their chairs and stood up. Tank knelt down in front of Emma. "What's your name?" "Emma Martinez." "I'm Tank. These are my friends. We're going to make sure nobody hurts your mama ever again." 20 Harley-Davidsons roared to life in perfect synchronization, their engines thundering through the quiet streets. Emma sat behind Tank, her small arms wrapped around his massive waist. Tank had positioned his men strategically. Diesel and Cobra would cover the back. Hammer would stay with the bikes. The rest would form a perimeter. "That one," Emma said, pointing to the small duplex. "The blue one with the broken fence." Tank could already hear the shouting from inside. Glass breaking, a woman's voice pleading. He lifted Emma down. "You stay right here with Hammer, okay? Is my mama going to be okay?" "She's going to be fine. I promise." Tank walked up the front steps. He tried the door, locked. He stepped back and drove his boot into the door just above the lock. The frame splintered and the door swung open to reveal Maria cowering in the corner, blood trickling from her split lip. Standing over her with a broken beer bottle was Jake Sullivan. Jake turned toward the doorway, his face going white when he saw the mountain of leather and muscle filling the frame. "Who the hell are you?" Jake snarled. "This is none of your business." Tank stepped into the living room. "Name's Tank." And when a little girl comes crying for help because someone's hurting her mama, that makes it my business. One of you against me. I like those odds. Son, you're not fighting one of me. You're fighting all of us. Diesel appeared behind Tank, followed by Cobra. Through the back door came more heavy footsteps. Maria, Tank said without taking his eyes off Jake. Are you hurt bad? I'm okay. Just scared. You don't need to be scared anymore. Jake raised the bottle defensively. Stay back. I'll cut her. No, Tank said with absolute certainty. You won't. You have two choices. Put down that bottle and walk out with your teeth still in your head, or keep acting stupid and find out what 20 pissed-off Marines think about men who beat women. Through the window, Jake could see more bikers positioned around the house. Jake, just leave, Maria said. Please. I want you. I want my family back. We were never your family. Jake's face twisted with rage, and he raised the bottle higher. Tank moved faster than anyone expected a man his size could move. One moment Jake was threatening Maria, the next he was face down on the carpet with his arm twisted behind his back and Tank's knee between his shoulder blades. That was the wrong choice. Police sirens were getting closer. Officer Martinez approached cautiously. Everything all right in there? Yes, sir. Suspect is secured. Victim is safe. Jake struggled to his feet, swaying. I want to press charges. They broke down the door. You broke down the door, Jake, Maria said. They came through the one you broke. Officer Martinez examined the splintered back door frame. Mr. Sullivan, you're under arrest for violation of a restraining order, breaking and entering, assault and domestic battery. As Jake was led away, he turned back. This isn't over, Maria. Tank stepped forward. Yes, he said quietly. It is over. By morning, word had spread through Millbrook. 20 bikers riding to rescue a little girl and her mother. Mrs. Henderson stood at her kitchen window. Earl, I'm going to bake something for those men who helped that poor woman. She walked across Maple Avenue carrying her grandmother's apple pie. Maria answered with a bandaged cheek and black eye. Mrs. Henderson. Dear, I brought you a pie. And I wanted to apologize for not knowing you needed help, for not being a better neighbor. They sat in the kitchen drinking coffee. Around noon, the rumble of motorcycles echoed down Maple Avenue again. This time the sound brought relief. Tank and 3 of his men pulled up. Neighbors emerged to wave. Mr. Jameson walked over to shake Tank's hand. Emma ran out and straight into Tank's arms. Tank, you came back. Of course I did, little darling. Had to make sure you and your mama were okay. Other children began gathering. The fearsome bikers were suddenly signing autographs and answering questions about their motorcycles. What started as a welfare check turned into a block party. 3 days later, Tank knocked on Maria's door holding a bag from the hardware store. Hope I'm not intruding. Thought I might fix that back door frame. I brought you something, Emma announced, holding up her drawing. Tank studied the artwork with seriousness. Emma had drawn Tank with a cape, his motorcycle transformed into a flying machine. Is that really how you see us? Uh-huh. You're the good guys. You're superheroes. As Tank worked on the door frame, Maria found herself really looking at him. Tank, can I ask you something? Why aren't you married? You're good with children. You're kind. You're protective. Tank's hands stilled. Never found the right person, I guess. Maybe you've been looking in the wrong places. Their eyes met across the kitchen, and something passed between them. Mama, Emma said. Can Tank stay for dinner? If he wants to. I'm not much of a cook, but I'd like that very much, Tank said quietly. That evening at the Rusty Chain, Tank sat with his inner circle. What do you all think of this place? Better than I expected, Hammer admitted. People here got substance. Diesel straightened up. Guy who owns the garage on Main Street needs someone who knows their way around engines. Asked if any of us were looking for work. Tank pulled out a worn photograph. Any of you ever wonder what we're really doing out here? Riding from place to place, never staying long enough to matter. I joined this club after 3 tours in Afghanistan, Hammer said quietly. Couldn't figure out how to be a civilian. Tank looked around the table. We've all been running from something. But maybe what happened with Emma and Maria, maybe that's what we've been running toward. I mean finding purpose again. You mean settling down here? Diesel asked. Morrison's not the only one offering work. Mrs. Patterson asked if anyone wanted to help with her landscaping business. I vote we stay, Spider said. At least for a while. One by one, the others nodded agreement. Then it's settled, Tank said. We make Millbrook our home base. 2 weeks later, the rusty chain received a letter. Jake had made bail. With it came a handwritten note. You think your biker boyfriends can protect you forever? I've got friends too. See you soon. Tank called an emergency meeting. Jake Sullivan's getting out tomorrow. And he's made it clear he intends to hurt Maria and Emma. So we handle it, Hammer said. Can't do that, Tank replied. We're not those men anymore. We've got a place in this community now. So what then? Diesel asked. We protect them legally. Round-the-clock watch. Make sure he can't get near them without witnesses. Chief Williams had a plan. I want to give them an opportunity to commit crimes we can prove in court. He pulled out a small wire transmitter. You confront Jake directly. But this time, we'll be listening. The Riverside Motel looked exactly like the kind of place where bad decisions went to die. Tank knocked on Jake's door with authority. Jake Sullivan, we need to talk. The door opened. Jake gestured Tank into the shabby motel room. On the bed lay photographs of Emma, Maria, Tank himself. You've been busy, Tank observed. Just keeping track of my investments. Maria and Emma belong to me. You're just an obstacle that needs removing. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I've got real professionals working for me now. Men who solve problems permanently. Through the walls, Tank could hear movement. Jake's backup was close. What kind of problems are we talking about? Jake picked up a photograph of Emma. The kind where little girls have accidents. Where houses catch fire. Where bikers disappear. You're talking about murdering a child. I'm talking about taking back what's mine. Jake pulled out a revolver, setting it on the table. Tommy Brennan says killing bikers sends a message. Tank heard the soft click of his wire transmitting Jake's confession. You're making a mistake, Jake. Jake reached for the gun. Tank moved with fluid precision. His hand closed over Jake's wrist, twisting. The revolver clattered to the floor as Tank spun Jake around and pressed him against the wall. Jake Sullivan, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. You're not a cop. No, but they are. The motel room door burst open as Chief Williams and 4 officers flooded in. We got it all on tape. Threats against Maria, Emma, and you. Conspiracy charges that'll put him away for 20 years minimum. 3 weeks later, Mayor Patricia Wells stood at the podium in Millbrook's town square. Citizens of Millbrook, we gather today to recognize extraordinary acts of courage and community service. Tank stood with his brotherhood near the gazebo. Beside him, Maria held Emma's hand. The Iron Brotherhood Motorcycle Club came to our community as strangers. The mayor continued. Many viewed them with suspicion. But when a child cried out for help, these men answered without hesitation. Chief Williams approached the microphone. In 30 years of law enforcement, I've rarely seen the courage and restraint demonstrated by Marcus Rodriguez and his associates. They chose justice over violence. Mr. Rodriguez, would you and your men please step forward? The mayor presented Tank with a ceremonial key. I present you with the keys to our city along with our eternal gratitude. Thank you, Tank said. But we didn't become heroes by riding motorcycles or wearing leather. We became heroes when we decided to care about each other. Emma stepped forward, and Tank lifted her onto his shoulders. I want everyone to know that these are real superheroes, Emma announced. They protect people who need protecting, and that's what superheroes do. Also, Tank is going to marry my mama, so now we're all going to be a family. Tank looked at Maria, seeing her blushing smile. Well, I guess it is if Maria says yes. Yes, Maria called out. Yes, I say yes. 6 months later, Maria stood behind the counter of Emma's place, the small cafe she'd opened on Main Street with backing from the Iron Brotherhood's pooled savings. The morning rush was in full swing. Chief Williams sat at his regular corner table. Mrs. Henderson had claimed the window booth as her unofficial information center. "Order up," called Diesel from the kitchen, where he'd found his calling as a short-order cook. Emma, now 8, helped by wiping tables and charming customers with endless chatter about her exciting new life with Tank Daddy. Tank entered wearing coveralls from Morrison's garage. "How's my favorite entrepreneur?" "Book solid through lunch," Maria said, handing him his coffee. "Tank Daddy." Emma appeared at his side. "Guess what happened at school today? Mrs. Mitchell asked me to tell the class about community helpers, and I talked about you and Diesel and everyone." Maria watched with warm contentment. Tank pulled her closer. "I think Emma might be onto something," he said softly, referring to Emma's question about a baby brother or sister. 5 years had passed since that desperate night. The autumn air carried sounds of celebration through downtown Millbrook. The annual Heroes' Day festival had become the town's biggest event. Emma, now 12, stood at the microphone in the town square. Her acceptance letter to the state's prestigious Math and Science Academy was clutched in her hand. 5 years ago, I was a scared little girl who thought the world was full of bad people. But then I met some men who taught me that heroes don't always look like what you expect." Tank stood with Maria, his arm around his wife's shoulders as she held their 3-year-old son, Marcus Jr. "Tank taught me that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared," Emma continued. "It means you do the right thing, even when your hands are shaking. But the most important thing Tank and his family taught me is that family isn't just about blood. It's about people who choose to love you and protect you. I'm going to the State Academy next year to study engineering. And when I graduate from college, I'm coming back to Millbrook to build things that make our community even better. Because this is my home, and these are my people." The applause was thunderous. Tank remembered that night 5 years ago when he knelt down to Emma's level, promising to help her mother. He'd had no idea that helping one terrified child would lead to this, a life he'd never imagined possible. As the crowd dispersed, a young voice called out from the edge of the square. "Help! Please, somebody help! My sister fell in the creek. She can't swim." Tank was already moving, his brotherhood falling in behind him. But as they ran toward the emergency, Tank noticed Emma running alongside them, her acceptance letter forgotten on the ground, ready to help however she could. The scared little girl who'd once needed rescuing had become someone who ran toward trouble to help others. The cycle of protection and courage continued, passed from one generation to the next in a small town where outlaws had become heroes and heroes had become family.